Hello everyone, this is Venom, and today I want to just kind of riff a little bit about the future of Destiny 2. Now, as long as you haven't been living under a rock, you know what's been happening with Destiny 2 here. The final shape came out, it did gangbusters, it ended the Light and Dark saga in a pretty satisfactory way for me at least. I know a lot of the player base is calling this probably one of the best DLCs of all time, one of the best expansions. It has a lot of good stuff going for it. Now, is this expansion enough to save Bungie from being taken over by Sony? Spoiler alert, no apparently. Now, this is the first part I want to talk about here is that apparently Bungie's been they've kind of led us to believe that they've been operating mostly autonomously this entire time. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with Bungie, they essentially got invested in by Sony, and they basically had to perform so well. Otherwise, they're going to get taken over by Sony. This is just the broad strokes of what's happening. The actual details I couldn't give you every breakdown. There's been so much going on over the years. But basically, Bungie's been under threat of being taken over by Sony, who invested in them, and they obviously, wanted the return on their investment. Now, Final Shape had to do really, really well, especially with how bad Lightfall did. Spoiler alert: apparently, even though it did well, it was not enough to stop Tony from taking over. Now, I say not enough to stop them from taking over. We've been kind of led to believe by Bungie that they were operating fairly autonomously, that Sony wasn't really on them as much as we were led to believe. Apparently that wasn't true. Apparently Sony's been much more involved than we knew about. Now, with it's weird to say failure of Final Shape because, again, as far as an expansion, as far as I'm concerned, Final Shape was a success, but we're going to call it as because of the failure of the Bungie CEOs, the Bungie executives, they are essentially being taken over by Sony now. Now, of course, they just fired the 220 employees. This is their second huge round of layoffs, and the second huge controversy surrounding it. This is a bigger one than the first one, where over 100 people were fired. Now we've got over 220. That's over 300 people fired because of Bungie incompetence. Now, they're essentially being taken over by Sony. We're finding out how they're going to be restructured. There's tons of videos and tons of articles going on about that. I'm not overly worried about it. I am going to kind of predict what's going to be going over, or what's going to be coming up here probably the next year, really. Now, here in the last couple of days, we have seen with this latest Bungie update that we've had some severe bugs coming out. We've had everything from the class item, the exotic class items, not only not being are not dropping as much as they used to. They've gone down, even though they're supposed to have increased the drop rate. It seems that Bungie's somehow done the opposite of that. On top of that, of course, there's been the name change bug. I had a buddy of mine who he logged in and his name was changed to Guardian, yada, yada, yada. Apparently, it was just a bunch of random people got that bug, and Bungie's trying to go through and unfuck that now and screw that. Now, I'm predicting that we're going to have a lot more bugs within the next year. I was going to predict what some of them were going to be. I predict that some characters might get deleted. I'm going to predict that, maybe some achievements are going to be undone or going to be reset. Imagine something like your Conqueror being reset like that when like plus 10 on your Conqueror and it suddenly gets reduced to 0. The bugs that we see coming out of Bungie right now are just so random and all over the place that I don't think any of these would possibly shock me. I could see people's entire vaults getting deleted. I can see just weird bugs. I can imagine a bug where people just can't interact with anybody. Like, these are some of the weird bugs that I've just come to expect, and I honestly think we're going to have more bugs happening on down the line. Now, whether or not, and this is a theory of mine, his name change bug, it happened so suddenly and so widespread, I feel like that might not be a bug. I think there may be some malicious people in the company doing things to the game right now, and it sucks to think about that, but considering everything that Bungie's done, I would not be surprised if there is actually people kind of sabotaging the game behind the scenes. These bugs, especially this name change one, came so suddenly and so precisely almost, I would be very shocked if somebody hadn't done this on purpose. Now, I'm sure people on the way out weren't able to do it. If they did what they did last time, then I don't think the people had access to the game when they knew they were fired. I think they were gone at that point. But I would not be shocked that people still working for the company were doing that. Now, besides just bugs, does Destiny 2 have a future besides what we've seen already? We've got the 2 more episodes coming out this year, and of course, all of next year has just been nicknamed Frontiers. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but it sounds like something where we're going to explore some new frontiers. That could be a huge thing, and honestly, personally, to me, would sound like a DLC, would sound like an expansion. They could have made a whole expansion from that. Take us to Tora Bottle, or take us to Reese, or take us to just some new planets we haven't gone to, or even exploring the Earth some more, spreading out and making some more cities at this point. We should be expanding now. We can go a million places with this, but we'll see what actually happens with it. I mean, it sounds like it could be grand. It could end up being not much. But right now, I see that my prediction is that Destiny 2 is going to go through some growing pains as Sony's restructuring. But from what I can understand, Sony is really interested in Destiny 2 as far as a franchise. Now, we're also getting, and this is a part that I am not surprised about, we're getting some reports about Marathon, and it's something that I predicted. Now, I haven't talked about Marathon at all because it wasn't the type of game I was interested in. I do try to avoid talking about games that I have no interest in, just because of the overabundance of bias I'd have towards it. For example, I don't like sports games at all. I used to play them all the time when I was a kid, and when I was growing up, that's all anybody had. It was like NBA Jams 95, or NFL games, or anything that was sports related. That's all the people around me had to play, and it got so bad that I just burnt out of them. And to this day, I cannot stand to play a sports game. Basketball games, football games, I can't do any of them. I'll play them in real life, but I can't play them as a video game. In fact, I remember when I first played Final Fantasy VII at my buddy Burton's house, that just opened my eyes to like a whole new world of gaming, and I was off to sports, and I was playing Final Fantasy and stuff like that afterwards. So now, Marathon was a game that I definitely was not interested in at all. When I heard that Bungie was announcing it, I honestly, and this is just me, I was not interested at all. In fact, I hated the idea that they were making another shooter game, because to me that meant they were going to be taking resources away from Destiny 2, and in my head, I mean, it was basically a threat to Destiny 2. Marathon, to me, was a threat to Destiny 2 in more than one way. I was afraid they might shut down the servers. I was afraid they might just take resources away from Destiny 2. As it turns out, I wasn't necessarily wrong about that. Now, they were using Destiny 2, their only real money-making game, to fund a bunch of seed projects, they call it, and to make Marathon. And they were basically taking resources away from Destiny 2. Now, regardless of whether or not I like Marathon or the idea of it or not, I don't like the idea of them taking away too many resources from Destiny 2 if they aren't taking care of Destiny 2. Now, if Destiny 2 was in a great spot and the players were happy and we didn't have a ton of bugs or, the issues we've had, then I would be fine. Like, hey, go ahead and do your other projects. Just make sure you take care of your Golden Goose. Take care of the thing that's carrying you guys. That's Destiny 2. Well, unfortunately, Bungie didn't do that. They were basically taking resources away from Destiny 2. They were taking the money it was making, and instead of reinvesting it back into Destiny 2 and giving the players what they want to, or what they want, they were just taking that money and then putting it into other projects and hoping those projects were going to carry them. Well, Marathon is their next big project, and it's gone through a few iterations. I think at first it was like going to be an extractor shooter, or it was a hero shooter, and then they didn't win extractor shooter. I think it was a hero shooter, then they went extractor shooter. And the Marathon has been in the works for a while now. Now, hero shooters and extraction shooters haven't really been popular in a while, especially hero shooters. There are some extraction shooters that are still doing pretty good. I don't really play them at all. I don't play hero shooters at all either. Hero shooters definitely have kind of died off, but for some reason Bungie was investing in Marathon, and as it comes to find out that the only reason they really pushed it so hard is because that's the only project that's really, close to being finished. It's the closest project to being done. And apparently, and this is from an interview Jason Schreier did, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's Jason Schreier. But apparently, even the developers aren't really happy with Marathon. They're not really excited about it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to flop. Now, I say that even before I heard all this, I personally thought that Marathon was not going to do too well. I say that for a couple reasons. I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. It's like whenever you make a remake of a franchise, you want to do a spin-off of it, but then you change everything about that original movie. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to get dinged because people are fucking retarded, but let's say you take a movie and you want to make a spin-off of it or, a remake of it, but then you change everything about that original movie and you're basically just using the title. It's the same thing, except they weren't using the Destiny 2 title. It was just more Bungie using Bungie's name to make a title. Marathon wasn't going to be Halo, it wasn't going to be Destiny, so really it's just Bungie making another shooter game. Who's really going to be interested in it? No, don't get me wrong. There probably are people interested in, and there are people who are legitimately interested in Marathon. But this was just my bias. I was like, I'm not sure too many people are going to want to play this. I'm not sure Destiny 2 players are going to want to play that who actually like the Destiny 2 gameplay loop. And people who are already playing, hero shooters and extraction shooters kind of already have the game already. So it's kind of hard to break into these genres, especially when they're already kind of aging as it is. So I was already curious about whether or not this was a good idea for Bungie, and lo and behold, it's probably not going to be. It's probably not going to go too well. Now, again, this is partially my bias, which is why I never spoke about it. I think I talked about Marathon in such a way that, or I just talked about it in the past as far as I didn't like them taking away resources from Destiny 2 to make Marathon, but I don't like them taking resources away from it to do anything. Make sure Destiny 2 is set first, and then, only then, when your player base for Destiny 2, your main moneymaker, is happy and good and solidified, and then go do your other projects. That, to me, seemed like a very iffy thing to do. That was a huge gamble, and it's one that is clearly not paying off because, again, over 320 people fired from Bungie right now. Sony's taking over. I mean, they're taking people from Bungie right now to work on other parts of Sony, and, I mean, hopefully Sony can get in there and fix Destiny 2 and kind of get it back on track, which is what I'm kind of hoping happens here. I am hoping that Sony steps in, and again, Sony's not the good guy in all this. Sony is one of the most hated companies in gaming. But compared to what Bungie's doing right now, they are saints, and that's the problem right now. Now, Sony could go through and they could just completely fuck up Destiny 2 and just really screw it up. But I'm hoping they go through and they even it out and give the player base at least what they want, or at least, get the bugs fixed, kind of give the players what they want as far as loot and stuff like that, and some of the other features. In fact, some of the features that we're still waiting for that are like really big ones that I predicted might be coming here soon, and they're ones that are really going to be needed if Destiny 2 is going to have a future. The big one is going to be giving us back all that old content. In fact, I was watching some videos the other day, and to this day, Destiny 2 still has a really shitty new player experience ever since they sunset that old content. And again, they can bring it back at any time. They still need to do that. I mean, back in the day when we still had the Red War, yeah, technically you didn't know what was going on, that what happened in the first Destiny, but you didn't really need it to hop into Destiny 2 either. Now, without the Red War for context, without all that seasonal content for context, everything has been removed. New players really have no idea what's going on unless they go through and they watch an 8-hour video, which, don't get me wrong, I've watched a few 8-hour videos whenever a DLC's come out for Destiny 2. In fact, that's kind of a tradition for me. I go through and I watch all those, here is the entire lore of Destiny video. I like to watch those whenever one's coming out. But yeah, I mean, we really need to have all that old content back. I mean, that was a huge point of contention when they took all that stuff out. That needs to come back now. In fact, I'd say when Sony takes over, one of the first things they need to do to solidify the game is bring back all the content, bring back maybe not the seasonal content, but give us some kind of story blurbs to go through and catch players up on all the different story aspects on the seasons. And again, my idea is to give us a catch-up mission node on that on the mission node we have on Destiny 2 now. We can go through and kind of get an abbreviation of those abbreviated missions. Make one for each season. I mean, that right there would give, your people something to do. You could probably hire a few back more. And then that'll help players catch up to what's going on in Destiny 2. And then now they've got a good player experience. They got a good new player experience. And now we can go forward. Right now, what I'm hearing is that a lot of the new players that start Destiny 2 just quit. And I can't really blame them. Warframe had that issue for a while too, and honestly they still kind of do. But new players will get in, they have no idea what they're supposed to be doing. They have no idea what the stakes are. They have no idea what they're supposed to be doing. They got no idea what they're supposed to be grinding. They have no clue what's going on, and they just leave. That's not a very good new player experience. And this has been this way ever since they go to that old content. Now, I thought Bungie was going to announce here soon that they were going to be bringing back stuff like the Red War, which, again, I'm still holding out hope for. I think that might have been in the plans at some point, but they haven't announced anything, and there's been no hint for it, really. So this is really just optimism on my part. But I am hoping that at some point all that comes back, and that is how you get your new players to stay. You've got to bring back all that old content. Now, it's been baffling to me why Bungie has just not done this, but this is, again, I think something that falls in the realm of the developers were talking to the execs, and the execs just kept shutting it all down. Now, I don't know if this is an idea that was brought up to them before. I can't imagine that nobody's brought up bringing back this content within the company at some point. Enough players have said it, there's no way no one's bothered to bring this up, and I really want to know whose idea it was to shoot it down. So I don't know. That's kind of where we're at with Destiny 2 right now. We are still going to be playing the game. We're still going to be making builds. We're still going to be doing plenty of raids, and still going to be sharpening people. Like I said, the main reason I haven't done it too much here recently is just because I have got a second child now. So it's every other night I'm getting sleep, and the other nights I'm watching my son. My wife and I trade off, and it's hard when you're only really sleeping every other day. And when regardless of whether you're sleeping or not, you're still working, and then you got all the other stuff you're doing. It can take a bit. It can take a bit. It's hard to do. We do have day jobs, of course, so I don't do this full time. It's just a hobby of mine for now. I mean, hopefully I can do this someday. But regardless, we'll still be playing Destiny 2 for a while until the server shut down or until something just terrible happens. Now, that being said, we are also playing other games as well. I'm currently playing Enshrouded. Update came out a while ago for it. I'm currently playing through it. It's been pretty fun, actually. I've been still messing around building it all. Building today. I'm going to be doing the actual DLC here soon. But we're doing that. We, of course, are still playing Destiny 2. Fallout 76, I haven't really touched in a while. I am playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. I finished up Dawn Trail, of course. I did the silent playthrough. It is on my channel. At some point, I would still very much like to go through and do a New Game Plus on Final Fantasy XIV with audio and reactions. Even though I played it before, I love the game, and I would really like to go through and play it again, either on stream or just, filming it just so you guys can see that. And, of course, you have Monster Hunter coming out next week. Or not next week, oh, I wish. Monster Hunter Wilds coming out next year. Monster Hunter is another big game that I play. I cannot wait to play that as well when it comes out. I have not done a lot of speculation videos on it, but I need to go ahead and do so as well. 7 Days to Die, I also got its official 1.0 release, so that's a game I never thought would be released. My wife and I were playing that like damn near a decade ago. It has finally got its full, well, I want to say a decade ago, I don't think it was really that long, but it's finally got its full release, so we may go ahead and play that one as well too. We might do set up a server, and of course we're still playing Power whenever stuff comes out for it, so I've got plenty of games to play, plenty of things I can make content on. It's just hard to do content on every single game I play because I play a lot of them. But it takes a lot of effort to make videos on them and have stuff, for you guys as well. A lot of what I do involves commentary, so it's hard to do that with every single game. Sometimes I just want to play a game just to kind of play it and enjoy it. But, like I said, with what's going on with Destiny 2 now, I do got to make sure that the future of the channel is going to be solid. And, I mean, like I said, I've got other games I play too. I mean, Remnant 2, I play a lot of that too. So, yeah, we're going to be doing more stuff on the channel. Don't worry about that. We're still going to be playing Destiny 2 until these servers shut down, more than likely. And, yeah, I'm just probably going to be doing some additional content as well. But I am hoping that Sony does kind of unfuck Bungie and at Studio and go ahead and get some stuff with Destiny 2 pushing again. I think they've got the potential to bring Destiny 2 where it needs to be. They got the potential to make the fans happy. The question is, are they just going to keep going and doing what it is that Bungie was doing and screwing people over, or are they going to try to get their money back and actually, try to make money by making the players happy? I think they might give us what we want, or they're going to try to give the player base what they want a bit, not necessarily because they want to, because they just want to make their money, which, of course, your company, you want to do that. And I think that Sony is probably more primed to do that than anybody because they want to make sure that the return on Bungie, gives them, comes to fruition. So, that being said, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you all for coming by. Please leave a like on the video if you like what we're doing. Please sub if you love what we're doing, and I will see you all on the next video.